Let me show you how you can make amazing 3D print time lapses with a tiny budget of $3. This system uses no power, needs zero coding, and is absolutely contactless, making it super efficient and durable. It is also ridiculously easy to make, as you are about to see. I'm going to be demonstrating on a Panasonic Lumix S5 DSLR camera and my Prusa i3 Mark IV printer. But this method can work with basically any camera and 3D printing setup that you may have. Alright, let's get into it. The first thing you're going to need is a cable that can trigger your camera's shutter. The choice depends on the camera you have, so make sure you find out which one you need before buying. The Panasonic Lumix S5 uses a 2.5mm 4-pole connector, so I went ahead and got myself one of these from AliExpress for about 72 pence. Next, you're going to need a reed switch. This is a non-contact switch that activates through a magnet. As the magnet comes closer to the switch, the two wires inside of it make contact and close the connection. And that's exactly what we're going to need to activate our camera's shutter. If you don't have a reed switch, you can also use a limit switch instead and it will do pretty much the same thing. I picked up a pack of 10 of these, including the magnets, for about £8, and I'm only using one, so that's another 80 pence added to our bill. Now the final thing you may or may not need is some resistors. Again, this depends on your camera manufacturer, so if you're not sure, have a look at this website and find the setup that your camera manufacturer uses. According to this diagram, for my Lumix S5, I need to set up a circuit like this one to activate the shutter. I don't have these exact resistor values, so I'm going to pick the nearest ones that I have. I ended up using 4 resistors in total, which comes up to about roughly 4 pence if you buy a set of 1000 resistors for £10, but let's just round it up to 10 pence for good measure. And that's all you need. The total bill so far is just about $2. The final dollar comes from an estimate of things like hot glue and solder. Okay, and now let's go ahead and put this thing together. I started off by building a resistor network according to the diagram on Dr. DIY's website, making sure to use the reed switch to activate the shutter. You need to figure out which wire is connected to which pole on the connector pin, which you can do by testing for continuity on a multimeter. Now we're ready to plug this into our camera and test it out. So here I'm setting my camera into manual focus mode and focusing on a nearby object. Now comes the moment of truth. When we bring the magnet close enough to the reed switch, it should close the connection and activate the shutter. And have a look at that. That is working perfectly. It's so cool how we can close the shutter without even making any physical contact. So I took everything off the breadboard, soldered the resistor network together, and put it inside a small 3D printed box to keep it secure. Because it's only a handful of components, I decided to just fix everything with hot glue instead of making a PCB. I then 3D printed an enclosure for the reed switch, which attaches to the left Z motor on the Mark IV printer, and a small magnet holder that goes into the extruder fan. As one final test, we can move the extruder towards the X-axis limit and see if it triggers the shutter. And there you have it, that's working perfectly. And here's the final time-lapse video. Because this system runs on no power, the only downside is that you can't activate lens focusing before taking a shot, so you have to sort of manually focus your camera before you start your 3D printing time lapse, which can be challenging sometimes. But for the amount of budget, I still think this is the best and simplest way to get some amazing time lapse footage of your 3D prints with practically any camera. So thanks very much for watching everybody, and do let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you next time.